We're talking tablets today with the editors of LaptopMag.com.
I'm Mark, and I'm holding the iPad Mini.
I'm Mike, and I've got the Amazon Kindle Fire HD.
I'm Cherie, and I have the Asus Transformer Pad Infinity.
I'm Conrad, and I have the Barnes & Noble Nook HD.
I'm Dan, and I have the new 4th generation iPad.
I'm also Dan, and I have Google's Nexus 7.
And I'm Manoush, and this is our holiday gift gadget guide. So, guys, we're talking tablets. I would love to get a tablet as a gift, but it's also a good time of year to buy one for yourself if you're in the market, right? So, Mark, what are some of the sort of trends that we're seeing in tablets this year?
Well, we're sort of seeing a split in terms of what people are looking for in terms of size. On the high end or the large end, you have 9 and 10-inch tablets. And for people who are looking for something that's as portable as an e-reader, but the ability to run all sorts of great apps, we have a lot of 7-inch devices. And in between, we have, because Apple loves to go their own way, they have the 7.9-inch iPad Mini. But I think in general, you're seeing portability and affordability on one side with 7 inches, and productivity and content creation with $499 or so tablets.
Okay, so let's start with the more affordable area over here then, you three. Let's go down the line here and show us what you got.
Sure. Well, this is, as I mentioned, the Amazon Kindle Fire HD. It's their latest tablet, and it starts at $199. And the great thing about this one is that if you're really invested in Amazon's content and their Amazon's ecosystem, you can get it all right here very easily. For example, here, I've downloaded a bunch of videos, and you can just easily scan through them like that. And the neat thing about this updated operating system is that, well, it's actually Android, but it's very heavily skinned. But for example, as I'm looking at, say, Rome, it'll suggest other shows I might like on the bottom, which is a nice little feature. The screen is really bright. It's got a resolution of 1280 by 800. And
price point?
It's $199.
$199. Okay. So Conrad, let's talk. This is the biggest competitor, right? Barnes & Noble, the Nook.
Yes.
So what's going on with their new Nook? It's gotten good reviews.
Right. Well, like the Kindle, it starts at $199 with the 8 gig, and it goes up to 16 gigs, and that goes for $229. And if you want a long-lasting tablet with long battery life, this is what you want. In our testing, this lasted about 8.5 hours. And that'll come in handy if you're stuck in a hurricane like many of us were
That's for
recently.
Sure.
So one of the other nifty features about this is the children's bookstore. If you open the store, there's actually 3 ways to read a children's book. You could just read it, but there's also an interactive mode called Read and Play. So if you open Read and Play with Cat in the Hat here, it'll actually start reading the book to you, and there's some interactive features like animations will start going off. But an even better feature, I feel, is the option to record your own narration. So if you're a traveling parent, if you have a career that forces you to travel all over the country, all over the world, and you can't be there for your child, you can at least record narrations for them so that you still maintain that connection with your kid.
Okay, so it's a good babysitter too. Now, so Dan, tell us what you've got there.
So this is Google's Nexus 7. It's actually made by Asus, and as part of Google's Nexus brand, it's a pure Android experience. So this is exactly what Google wants you to get in terms of operating systems. There's no skinning, it's just straight Android.
So whose content are you going to consume if you buy the Nexus?
Google's. Basically, you go through the Google Play Store, you would download apps, you would download movies, music, books, anything you want. So it's similar to the iTunes App Store and Amazon's App Store, and you can basically just take any kind of content you want. It's also relatively slim. It's got a higher resolution display than some of the competitors like the iPad Mini, and it also, and it's also just $199.
Gotcha. So this, Mark, is where Apple wanted to get in on. This is the market. Cheaper, smaller.
Right.
Have they done it successfully?
They have, and they've done it in a way that it's actually, they're not undercutting the competition on price, but they are beating them when it comes to functionality, and most of it is related to apps. So there's 275,000 applications in the Apple App Store, and that's just the number for tablet apps. If you look at a lot of the applications that are available on some of these devices, a lot of them are so-called stretched out phone apps. So if you look at an application like Pandora or others, they might have high resolution screens, but I would argue they're not really making the most of them. With the iPad, a lot of the applications you have this dual pane interface, so if you're looking at your email, you'll see your inbox on the left-hand side and the contents on the right-hand side. So that's just one of many examples, and third-party developers have gotten in on the action too. And even though the resolution of the screen is not as good as some of the competition, I would argue that having a larger display has benefits too. So it actually feels like you're getting a full iPad experience in a 7.9-inch device. So the premium is there. It's $329 bucks, but I think for a lot of people who want sort of like an e-reader convenience and the portability and being able to use it with one hand, but still access all the apps, I really think it's a good compromise between the two.
So is this one, is this going to spell the end of our friend the iPad, what are we calling this one, the fourth generation?
Fourth generation, the new iPad, yeah, one of those two. I don't think it's going to spell the end for it. They're definitely different types of products for different types of consumers.
Here.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so it's pretty significant.
Yeah. This is definitely not one that you can just as easily throw into a bag. Like if this is in your bag, like there's the weight, it's the heft, you're going to know that it's there. I mean, not as much as carrying around a notebook, but compared to one of these smaller tablets, you're definitely going to feel it. But this has way more screen real estate than any of those. So if you're doing word processing, if you're doing music editing, video editing, Apple has a lot of different applications for content creation, and it's just beautiful to do on the iPad, and you can still carry this around really easily.
Okay, so content creation. These guys are not good at content creation, sorry guys. But you and Cherie, you guys are the real players here when it comes to content creation, right? I mean, Cherie, you even have a keyboard. What's going on here with the Asus?
So with the Asus, like you get this beautiful tablet that has this lovely aluminum back, which I love. I love this tablet. It's one of my favorites. And it has this beautiful 1200 by 800 display, which is full HD, which gives you a really, really beautiful display.
Actually, in this case, it's full HD, so I think it's 1920.
Yeah, it's like 1900
by 1200.
Yeah.
Now, I'm intrigued by the keyboard.
The keyboard is one of the cool things, and it lets you do your productivity. So I have Polaris Office on here, so I can do Word docs, I can do an Excel spreadsheet, I can create a slideshow presentation with this keyboard. And the other cool thing about this, the tablet by itself, during our battery test, got over 7 hours of battery life. With the dock, it actually doubles the life, so you'll get about 14 hours with this.
Any last remarks? Which one would you like to get for Christmas, Dan?
I'm hoping for the iPad mini.
Yeah?
Yeah, I had a little bit of time to spend with that, and it really was. It's like having the full-size iPad, but you could hold it in your hand. It was fantastic.
Okay, we know Cherie's going with the Asus. She's already said, she's proclaimed her love for it. What about you guys?
Well, I kind of like the Amazon Kindle Fire HD.
Especially if you've invested in a lot of Amazon content, as you said.
Exactly. You know, the price is great. You know, $199, and Amazon's really stated they make the money on the back end through the content that they sell. So if you have a lot of stuff, a lot of movies, a lot of TV shows that you like to catch up on, then this is really the better deal for that.
Okay, so, and then, what do you think, Conrad? Would you stick with the Barnes & Noble?
Absolutely, because I'm really big on battery life, because a device doesn't amount to anything if you got to keep it plugged in, and you can't walk around with it for a long time.
That's a good point.
So that, I combine that with the fact that it actually has the highest res display between this, the Nexus 7, the Kindle Fire HD, and the iPad mini. The iPad mini actually has the 1024 by 768 resolution, lowest of the four. This is the highest. So those two features combined, in addition to the $199 price point for the 8 gig,
it makes it
really attractive for me.
Okay, that's interesting. Dan?
Despite my love for the Nexus 7, personally, I would probably go with the 4th generation iPad, specifically because, as Mark had said, the app ecosystem is there. It's the largest amount of apps available.
Well, another thing with this too is it just blew us away in our battery testing. This lasted over 12 hours on one charge, just like this, over continuous web browsing, which is just a long time. So this will just last forever.
Yeah, this one got about 10 hours.
That's pretty good too. Okay, so depending on what you need this tablet for, what the person you're giving it to wants to do with their tablet, is it reading or is it content creation? We hope we made it easier for you to decide. Happy holidays from the gang here at laptopmag.com. I'm Manoush Zomorodi.